Welcome back to NASCAR Lap by Lap with me, Garon Bach. Alongside today will be motorsport.com, Nick DeGroot. Nick, I want to thank you for joining us. We got a lot in store. We're going to break down Dover, look ahead at Indy, look at the recent NASCAR news, in-season challenge. There's so much going on in the world of NASCAR. Nick, I just want to start off with you, though. I want to get your overall thoughts from the Dover race weekend.
Yeah, I think the rain really helped the end of the race because for the most part it was your pretty standard Dover race. And I know a lot of people, they like to, the car this, the car that, and it has its merits, but Dover's always like that. Everybody gets strung out. It's very hard to pass. Everyone gets into a rhythm. And I think we just saw a really classic Dover race there, but the rain really helped make it exciting at the end. And I also think it was, I saw this picture that really showed it. The cream rose to the top here. You had Hendrick and Gibbs at one point. The entire top 8 was just HMS and Joe Gibbs Racing. And it's like, those are the teams. I know Track has just kind of shown up this summer with Shane and also Ross won in the Coke 600 there, but it's been Gibbs, it's been Hendrick for most of the year. And that was kind of the story last year until, Penske won the championship. And I think Dover reminded us, like, all right, we're done with the road street courses for now. Here's the real top dogs at the moment, and it's JGR and Hendrick, and everybody's chasing them.
Well, I wanted to pull up the results here. Like you mentioned, the whole cream rising to the top, JGR, Hendrick. Obviously, your top 6 was Hendrick or JGR, and like you said, top 8. Something else I wanted to talk about was cream rising to the top was a lot of drivers. Denny Hamlin started 13th, Alex Bowman 16th, Larson 20. I believe that's 25th from the fact that there was no practice, no qualifying, new tire compound. Weather was really odd. Well, it was hot, humid, I guess. It wasn't really that odd, just typical for that time of year. So were there any names, coming from the back of the pack up front, any drivers that stood out to you this weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't, the flashiest weekend for Kyle Larson, with what we're used to with him, but I think that was the kind of weekend he needed. They started deep in the field, but they really didn't have any drama. He quietly marched forward. He made it all the way to the top 5, and he didn't lead any laps, I think. Yeah, I'm looking at the thing there. He didn't lead any laps, but he was there. He's in the top 5. He just returned to form in a way, not in dominant fashion, but kind of just getting his feet back on the ground, which I thought was really impressive and really needed for that number 5 team. But yeah, Hamlin from the very start, I love at the start of the races, you always look at the guy, especially at these type of tracks where it's so hard to pass, who's the one moving forward. And yeah, the 5 was moving forward, but the 11, he was really moving forward. He got to the front very quickly, and I'm like, all right, there he is, Denny. He's going to be somebody to watch. And I know Christopher Bell, he was another guy that was really fast, but he was there the whole race. He was at the front until he spun out, but he was there from the very start. And Denny Hamlin was somebody who just seemed like he was moving through the pack extremely quick. And it's like that 11 car, he's got long run speed. He can pass people. That's the guy you're going to have to watch.
And I'll touch on Christopher Bell here in a little bit, but I also want to ask about Kyle Larson's Hendrick teammate, Chase Elliott. He led over 200 laps in this race. It seems that, it's kind of a similar season to his 2020 season up to this point. He's now leading in the regular season point standings. Is Chase Elliott someone who is now, especially with the win in Atlanta? Is he someone that's a true contender for a championship, especially after a great showing this weekend?
Yeah, Chase Elliott is a quiet assassin. People don't notice him to the point where it's like, what's wrong with that 9 team? What's going on over there? And then you look and they're leading the regular season champ. It's like nothing's wrong. He's finished in the top 20, I think, in every single race this year. And yeah, they'd like to have a few more wins. He led over the half that race. I'm sure he would have rather won it, but to come out there with the regular season points lead and to every single week salvage a good finish no matter what happens. And they've had races where things go wrong, but they always salvage a good finish. And I think if we were in a season-long format, Chase Elliott, everybody should be really worried about him. But even in this format, we know in the playoffs it's a lot about survival, especially those first 2 rounds. And nobody's surviving better than Chase Elliott. Like I said, top 20 every race this year. And I think he's going to continue that into the playoffs. And he could be somebody that could go. It'd be pretty funny if he doesn't win another race this year, and then he goes and just wins the championship with 1 win in this win and you're in kind of format. But if anybody can do it, it can be him because he's got incredible consistency.
And as I mentioned earlier, we touch on Christopher Bell. He spun not once but twice while battling for the lead. It's really funny to think about with Bell because he's someone that he has 3 wins on the season, and he's not really gone downhill. He's just kind of just been quiet, running his top 10s a lot. But with Bell trying for these wins, spinning out, trying to get the win, is there a kind of moment now for Bell trying to be like, I really want to get past Denny Hamlin? Because especially for him as a teammate, that's going to be the guy he's going to have to beat if he's going to want a title.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they went into that race tied for the most wins this year, along with Larson and Shane Van Gisbergen also there, which is always interesting to look at. But I think he absolutely looks at him as like, this is a guy I'm going to have to beat for the championship. And the thing with those 2 spins are, the first one, that was a mistake. He went in there too hard, low air pressures, car bottomed out, spun out. But that second one, it was almost unavoidable. It's like, do you want to win or do you want to finish second?
Mm-hmm.
And he, in that moment, decided, I'm going to try to win this race. We saw Chase Briscoe faced with the same decision later on, and he chose, I'll take second over hitting my teammate. And what I thought was interesting about Bell was, yeah, he was careful to not take out Denny, but he put it right to the edge. Like, I might spin out and I might take you with me, but that's a risk I'm willing to take to try to get this race lead, which I think bodes well for the playoffs because he's still mad about last year. I guarantee it. And he wants to come in here. He wants to win this championship, and he wants to slam that trophy down and be like, see?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the playoff, and I know this is no connection to it, but I like to make things up in my mind as someone who covers the sport because it's fun to do. But he did take out William Byron thanks to that spin. It led a chain of reactions to it, so I guess that worked out for him. But I want to go to the back half of the results here. And there's the picture of him spinning out, battling for the lead near the end of the race for Chase Elliott. Obviously, Shane Van Gisbergen, you mentioned him, has 3 wins thanks to him having the road courses, NASCAR adding another one in San Diego, which we'll touch on also. But with Shane Van Gisbergen, I was kind of hoping for him, hey, maybe to get a lot of the NASCAR fans who are really ticked off about, hey, he still shouldn't be in the playoffs. I don't care how many road courses he wins. That's the only thing he can do. I was hoping he might put up a top 20 day. I was really hoping at Dover, put up a top 20 day. We can start putting this behind us. But, at the very beginning of the race, he knows the car, had a tire going down, knew it, came down pit road. But is Shane Van Gisbergen still someone we could hypothetically talk about making his way into the round of 8, even the championship round just from all these points? Or is it going to take more?
I don't know about championship, but I think absolutely just the way everything is structured, he could make it to the round of 8 just because that first round, he has a lot of points already. And if you just survive, you're making it to the second round. And then in the second round, we have the Charlotte Roval. So I think there's actually a very realistic path for him to make it to the round of 8. At that point, I think it's kind of game over, but even still, it's been an incredible rookie season for him. And yeah, it's funny because people were saying, tough break for Shane at the beginning of the Dover race. I actually, I think it wasn't the worst thing that could happen to him because it allowed them to kind of breathe and be like, all right, we're not racing for position here. We have a 3-hour test session at a track, at a style of track that Shane has admittedly struggled at. He said the concrete tracks, this Dover or this in Bristol, it's difficult for him. And they had 3 hours there to just kind of learn There was no thinking about strategy or this or that. It was just, hey, let's see what we can learn here and get some laps in. And he did, what was it, 395 or 400 laps? I don't know what it was with overtime, but he did almost all the laps except for the laps he lost at the beginning.
He did exactly 400 laps, which is
Well,
what
there
would
you
have
go. He
been.
did 400.
I was just trying to look because the next thing I want to bring up is William Byron. He's had a rough summer. I believe he's had an average finish of 25 right now, which obviously you look back at some of those races. Michigan, he was up there with Carson Hocevar. He was most likely going to pass him, but we knew it was going to be a fuel strategy race. He just sent it, which, I like. You got that one in your pocket. You're doing well in points. But that kind of like kicked off that just really sour month of July, the last couple of weeks in June. Is there a real reason for concern for William Byron? I mean, even going into the playoffs now, or is it all going to be good for him?
I'd say no, because they do have the one thing that you need. He has the speed. They just don't have the luck right now. It seems like I'm shocked looking at it that he's only won the Daytona 500 this year, and that's it, because he's had so much speed at so many tracks. He's led a ton of laps, but it's not panning out for them. So it's something they got to work on. They got to figure out, how do we keep ending up in these bad situations? But they have the speed, so that's not something they have to worry about. If they can just put the race together and avoid some of these situations, they're going to be just fine. So that 24 car, I think, has been just overall this year, it's been like the best Hendrick car for the most part. It's just the results are not coming recently. It's just one thing after another. And even Dover, he's doing everything right, it seems. And then boom, there's a car spinner in front of him and he ends up getting tagged. And I also thought that was interesting with Noah Gragson, because he said right before the green flag, he's like, I just want to not wreck here at the end. And lo and behold, there he goes.
Yeah, the whole wreck at the end, I was someone who, whenever that red flag came out for rain, what was it, 13 laps to go, whatever, it was in the teens. I was like, just let's go back racing. I know it was kind of, most fans wanted to go back racing. I'm sure a lot of drivers were like, I'm fine, except for the ones who were near the top 5, top 10, because of just how hard it was to pass. Mm-hmm. But Noah Gragson had a good day. He was someone that I had an eye on the whole time. And then the fact that we now see he finished 32nd, it's like, okay, that's whatever. But the names I want to bring up is Ty Dillon, John Hunter Nemechek. That battle at the end of the race. This in-season challenge, we all knew would be gimmicky, but it's really been fun. I think it's been a great marketing idea. I think it's been fun overall for the fan base. The seating's been odd, but hey, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Ty Dillon's Cinderella run and the fact that he's going to have a chance for $1 million this weekend.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I did not know what to expect with this in-season challenge, but I think what it's turned into has been fantastic, because now we got 2 drivers, especially Ty Dillon, that we would not be paying any attention to. And here he is. He's the star of the show right now in the middle of July, which is just, no one would have predicted that. He's done all these interviews. He's getting so much exposure for himself, his team, his sponsors. We're seeing a lot more personalities come out with some of these drivers, especially when they joke with each other. And I said to somebody this week, whether Ty Dillon wins the money at Indy or not, it doesn't matter. He's already won. He's gotten the exposure. He's gotten his name out there. He's done an incredible job, really. Not just off the track, but on the track. He's not finished outside the top 20 since this tournament has begun, which is really impressive for that number 10 team, because they were struggling quite a bit at the beginning of the year. But he keeps putting runs together and staying out of trouble, and that seems to be the key in this challenge. And Ty Gibbs, he's done really the same thing, putting together his best run races this year.
And with the in-season challenge, I just wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, the schedule, because it's built around the TV schedule and all that stuff, so it's most likely not going to change. But would you like to see, maybe instead of Atlanta being the opening race, maybe a more calmer track? Or do you like the chaos, like knocking out a lot of big names, but maybe even next year it could be a lot of the smaller names if it's a calmer race there?
It's a double-edged sword, because like fan engagement, you want the brackets to not all be busted in the first race. You want people to have a vested interest in what's happening. But from an entertainment standpoint, I love seeing these random names advance forward. And then instead of talking about Denny, Hamlin, and William Byron, we're talking about Ty Dillon battling John Hunter Nemechek. It's so funny in the middle of the race when Denny Hamlin, he's getting mad at Ty Dillon. I'm trying to lap him. I'm battling for the lead. And then later, Denny mentions like, oh, yeah, I forgot. He's there. He's John Hunter's right in front of him. He's battling him for $1 million. They got their own thing going on, and we would never care about the battle for 23rd if not for this challenge. And I just think it's fantastic. So I don't mind if it stays at Atlanta. I think it's unlikely, knock on wood, that we're going to have another 25-car pileup, but, it's always possible. And I think with or without it, it's going to be entertainment for the fans.
And overall, I would love to see the person who made the bracket that was like, it'd be funny if 2 ties went off for the championship. I know there's got to be a bracket out there that did it. I just don't know who was wild enough to do it.
If they did it, they didn't do it on NASCAR.com because NASCAR said there were 0 brackets left after that first race. So
yeah, I mean, wasn't it even after the wreck when they'd realized all these, which is just so insane.
My bracket was destroyed. I had Chase Elliott win it all. It didn't happen.
I had Busher, so that really went downhill. I saw that Cinderall car, and like, guys, he's going to do it. It's just it's there.
I did have Ty Gibbs making it to the semifinals, though, just because I saw the road courses in there. We know how he is at the road courses. So I did expect Ty Gibbs to kind of dance his way further than most people expected just because of Chicago and Sonoma. But, yeah, now that he's made it all the way to Indy, I didn't expect that.
Well, you mentioned a season-long format. We've heard drama in the NASCAR community about it. I'm not going to touch on that. I don't, because I just didn't really look into it that far. But why don't we bring up the regular season point standings right now? So the big name that was up there for a long time this season, William Byron. He led it, I think, since week 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But I mentioned 2 weeks ago, I mentioned the fact that it's going to be, could we see some in-team fighting to where teams might start holding stuff? You see there's 300 cars up there. So do you think there's a reason why maybe Chase Elliott has just been better than Byron and Larson the past summer? Or do you think it's just the luck still?
I think them working together is part of the reason why they're 1, 2, 3 right now. I think because they're kind of all, raising each other up here. That's why they're 1, 2, 3 in points. And it's so interesting looking at them because they're all had such different seasons. Like I said, the 24, the constant speed, but something always goes wrong. Larson, who came out of the gate winning left and right and then fell off the face of the earth after Charlotte. And then Elliott, who's just been quietly there every single week, scoring the points, which I think is really funny. But looking at the standings now, and I did not realize this before you brought it up, Denny is only 39 points back despite missing the Mexico City race. That, to me, is really surprising and really impressive. And it'd be kind of funny if in the final few weeks here, Denny just makes a run and he just cuts through all 300 cars. Like, Denny wins it. Never mind.
Well, I don't want to jump the gun on this one, but we are going to Indy, and he was really good at Pocono, which is a lot similar to Indy. So it could be. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
It could Daytona. I know it's a plate race, but he loves those super speedways.
And he was leading the 500 until Byron came out of 9th place to win it, which also adds to the whole drama of just the season long format of Byron could be 4th or 5th right now if it weren't for the big wreck at Daytona that gave him the win there. And the names I like to see were the ones near the bottom where we hear a lot of people talk about Alex Bowman. There's a lot of, it's more so TikTok, and Carson Hocevar is going to take over the 48 within the next 2 seasons. But you've got all 400 cars within the top 10. You've got Chase Briscoe, a JGR driver. He won. He's got the win this season, which was his biggest goal this year, was just to get a win. He put it on his back. He did it. He's an 8th. And then Ryan Blaney and Chris Buescher, the only 2 Fords. I was going to mention that whenever we talk about it, but I guess I'll bring it up now. Is there something going on with the Fords, or are just the other 2 manufacturers just that dominant?
All part of the plan. They got it all into Phoenix. They just got to make it through the playoffs, and they know what happens come November. But
I knew exactly where that's going.
I made the mistake last year of doing saying exactly what you just said, where it's like, oh man, these Penske cars, these Fords, I don't know. I don't think they're worried just because of this format. They're going to go into the playoffs, Joey and or Ryan and maybe Austin. They're going to start winning random races, and one of them's going to make it to Phoenix, and then we're going to have the same thing happen 4 years in a row.
Here's the thing we all need to remember, too, is that all 3 Penske cars have won a race this season. The Wood brothers, Josh Berry, won a race this season. Mm-hmm. It's now an RFK, which when I bring up the playoff standings, That's going to be really fun to watch because they're all three going to have to go after each other. It looks like.
Oh yeah.
I'm not too sure because we were talking about before we knew it was more so optimism, hope that Shane Van Gisbergen wouldn't just do what he did. We kind of knew in the back of our minds he may just win all three of these over the summer in the road courses. But I remember about 2 months ago, I was looking at the playoffs and seeing there could be 16 different winners here. But now it's kind of evened itself out. I'd say
Yeah.
at most maybe 14, 15. But I want to bring up the playoff standings now. Is there anywhere near the bottom here? I'll take us off the screen so we can see the points near the bottom. Michael McDowell minus 77. Is there any way you think a car below 20th could make it into the playoffs off points?
I don't think so. And I also think we're going to get another new winner from below the cut line, and it may not come until Daytona, which will really just throw everything out of whack. But I think McDowell and maybe even Ty Gibbs are probably thinking we got to win. But Ty has been really fast recently, but he's probably going to run out of time. And again, that cut line's probably going to move again. So I think looking at it for a points battle, it's going to be just the guys kind of you're seeing right now. And even it's funny seeing Ryan Preece because I feel like he has been there right on the cut line the entire year. And even when the cut line is moved, he gains some points and he gets right back up to it. And he's just been right on this cut line from the start. I think it's going to be like that to the end. Even if we get another new winner, I fully expect to see that 60 car find a handful of points and they'll be right back at the new cut line. And I think it'd be really interesting if it ends up being him and Buescher, being teammates. And imagine a situation will go to Daytona where it's like Buescher versus Preece for the points, and then you have Brad battling for the win. And then it's just, I would not want to be RFK in that race because then you'd have like, well, maybe we'll get 1 out of 3. Maybe we'll get 2 out of 3. Maybe we'll get none. We'll see what happens.
Well, you mentioning that, it just reminded me about Atlanta. That's a super speedway type of track. That's how it races. And RFK had all three, I believe, near the front at one point. If they can somehow do the old DEI strategy of getting all the cars up front on super speedway somehow, that's exactly what could play out. And I think that'd be really, really fun. And it just adds to it.
What would be interesting would be, especially if it does end up being Buescher and Preece, how they work together at the end of stages, because it's like, I need more points than you, and how's that going to work? And I think that would be really fascinating to see the team dynamic.
And then obviously the name above the cutoff line, Tyler Reddick won the regular season title last season. Is he okay? Does he have anything to worry about at this point?
At this point, he's fine because 5 races left. We would need 4 new winners to just get him in that position. And I don't think that's going to happen over the next 5 weeks. I think we'll get 1, maybe 2. I think Shane's probably going to go win Watkins Glen. So I think he can just kind of write that one off from the get-go. So yeah, I think Reddick is feeling almost locked. And I think Bowman should be feeling pretty safe as well, just because how that 48's running. Like, he could lose 60 points. Absolutely. But I just don't think they're going to.
And with the news of the whole lawsuit and everything, Reddick and Wallace, especially right now, they can feel fine now. They can feel comfortable. They know they're not going to miss a race because NASCAR changed a rule. How do you feel about that rule being changed? Have you looked into it at all or anything like that?
Yeah. I think it's all for the courts. It's all because the court said we're going to open this up to potentially giving them the TRO, the temporary restraining order, stopping you from taking the charters and selling them if they're in danger of missing a race. And now NASCAR's like, oh, well, they're not going to miss a race. And they're helping their case going into this next hearing, which is going to be about the preliminary injunction. And then after that one, if NASCAR wins, then at that point we could see them potentially take these charters and sell them or just get them out of reach 2311 for, which would be a huge development. But yeah, at this point, from a playoff standpoint, they don't have to worry about that. But from just everything else off the track, I know they say it's not a distraction. I don't know how it can't be. It would be. I'd be thinking about it constantly if I was there.
I thought it was really interesting the fact that Denny Hamlin won on Sunday as well. It was kind of like a middle finger to NASCAR, being like I don't care what you do to my drivers, my team. I'm still going to win. I'm still going to come out here and dominate. Obviously, that's not the point. It's still Denny Hamlin and then 2311. That's what he's always said. It's him as a driver and him as a team owner. But do you think that we could be talking about, instead of a championship this summer, hey, where are these charters going to go? These 6 or 7 charters going to end up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could happen. And it's a sticky situation. And I really don't know what's going to happen because two of those charters were also bought from Storehouse Racing and they used the courts to buy them or to put the purchase through. And I have no idea. There's so many unknowns. There's 6 charters here that NASCAR could, if they win here, potentially take and sell. And then 2311 and Front Row are sitting there. What do we do? Even if they win the lawsuit in December, do they have to get the charters back? How do they get the charters back? How would any of that work? And I really have no idea.
So charter talk's boring. I'll be completely honest.
Oh yeah.
I just have had people ask me about what's going on. What does this mean? And really, as of right now, it means nothing.
Yeah.
At least
From a competition standpoint, it's not affecting the championship. It's just affecting people off the track.
But I now want to talk about the exciting news. It's during my birthday weekend, so I got to make a trip to San Diego. One, the release video they did, that was phenomenal. I don't know if you had the chance to watch it. I'm sure you did, but I think I've watched it 4 or 5 times now. NASCAR has done a great job marketing their drivers this season. While I was getting ready for the show today, I had Carson, host of our Twitch stream, on, and because he was talking about what was going on, and something he shared is NASCAR's marketing team, instead of what other teams do, like he's with Spire, he says that Spire would make you the butt of the joke. NASCAR's like, we want to show that our drivers are cool and all this stuff. What did you get from that?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. At first when I watched them, like, oh, they're gonna be like super serious, and then it just turned into complete hilarity when they're snatching the drivers out of their pools and out of their garages. I thought it was a fantastic video, and I don't know about the nicknames, though. I don't know where those came from, but I thought it was a hilarious video. It was a great way to promote it, and it's cool to see that the Navy seems to be all in on this. They're posting about it from their official account. They seem to be excited about it, and you kind of need their full cooperation to, even make this work. But the fact that they're excited about it, I think, is going to make it even better, because who knows what this event's going to end up looking like, but I think it's going to look spectacular.
Well, also, what I had realized after thinking about it, because I saw people saying it's Father's Day weekend, I'm like, it's 2 weeks before America's 250th Independence Day. You get 40 stock cars out on a military base racing around in San Diego. I think just regardless of just the patriotism fact, it's going to look sick for what the country's doing overall. And NASCAR's playing a big part in that.
And a triple header. I did not expect trucks to also be coming. From going into it, it wasn't the best kept secret. I thought it was going to be Xfinity and Cup, and then I hear trucks are going to be there on Friday. I'm like, whoa, we're racing all 3 series. This is going to be incredible. And I think whatever the course ends up being, just the visuals of it are going to be awesome. I'm sure there's going to be ships and aircraft carriers in the background. You have the skyline of San Diego there. It's going to be extremely cool, and I can't wait to see what it ends up looking like. And for anyone who watched that video, just so in case they're confused, that layout they showed, that's not the actual layout. That was just for the video's purposes. They don't have a layout yet. I mean, they do, but they haven't shown it yet. They're working with iRacing on that, and we'll see that eventually, but we still don't know exactly what it's going to look like.
I find it interesting that they're using iRacing to build the layout because I don't know how they're doing it, because I know iRacing goes and scans track surfaces. Did they just go out and scan the airbase of where they might be doing this?
I don't know the specifics, but I honestly think that's it. Like, that's what they did at Chicago, and they just kind of, or maybe they don't have to scan it. They just have the layout, they recreate it, and then they can just start building it, kind of like a sandbox, and be like, we'll try this, let's try this, and let's try that. And I'd love if NASCAR did a big behind the scenes showing how that development works from iRacing, because I think that'd be really cool to see, because it's incredible to think iRacing is helping you build racetracks now in 2025. And I know, of course, Chicago too, a couple years ago.
Yeah, especially with the fact the new NASCAR video is coming out that is with iRacing. I feel like we've got to have a deep dive at some point. I need to see it. I need to know how it's working. But I want to close out the show because we're going to go over 30 minutes, which is what I thought would happen, and we had a lot to get into. But we got to talk about Indy. I didn't bring a chart with me for the average finish, because we've only had one race here. That was last season, at least in the Gen 7 era, and on the just oval there. Kyle Larson won it last year. It was kind of like his makeup race for, hey, I didn't get to run Charlotte. Indy didn't work out for me. Once again, it didn't work out for him this season on Memorial Day. But who who are some of the drivers that are standing out to you? And obviously, you can't pick Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I will say this is going to be a big weekend for Kyle Larson. Not just running both races, but it's hanging over his head. Larson, what's happened since Indy? What's happened since Memorial Day weekend? And I think it's teeing up to be the perfect race for him to put his name back out there and be like, I'm fine. Look, we just won the Brickyard 400 again. So I think it's a very important weekend for him to kind of remind people, hey, I haven't gone anywhere. But yeah, besides him and Denny, who I'm sure will both be up there, I'm really not entirely sure, because last year's race, it was very interesting how at the end fuel mileage became a thing, and fuel mileage has been a thing at the Brickyard 400 before, and I kind of expect it to be a thing again, and that kind of just opens it up to a bunch of people you wouldn't maybe consider. But I think Ryan Blaney, he was good last year. I think he'll be good again. Penske, of course, Penske's got to be good in Indianapolis. I think that top 20 run you were talking about, Shane getting on oval, I think it could absolutely come at Indy. He was very good here in the Xfinity Series last year. I think he got a top 5 finish. So he's somebody who can probably go to Indy and have a really good run, maybe one of his strongest on an oval yet. But yeah, I think it's going to be kind of like Dover, where it's going to be Hendrick, Gibbs, and yeah, you might see Ryan Blaney and Joe Logano show up at the front, but there's really nobody else that kind of comes to mind here that's going to pop up and win that race. Maybe if we had Juan Pablo Montoya back in the Ganassi 42, like those days, I still don't know how he didn't end up winning one of those things, but yeah, I think that's who it's going to come down to, those super teams.
Yeah, I was looking at the team I was looking at was Penske. I mean, a Ford hasn't been in victory lane since Nashville. And like we mentioned, obviously they're not due because they've won 3 straight titles, and now they're going to get maybe even 2 of their cars into the Final 4 again. But I was really looking at Joey Logano. I was expecting it to be a fuel-saving race. He's shown speed here before. He's shown speed at Pocono.
Things are good at fuel saving too, so that's right up their alley.
So I was looking at Logano. I thought maybe Blaney. I haven't really looked at Cindric, but this could also be a race where I don't really want to say it because I don't really believe it, but my gut's now saying it, and it's just now pulling in. But maybe RFK has a really good day. Maybe Priest gets above that cut line somehow. But the last question I have for you today is, who's winning the in-season challenge?
Ty Dillon. You
Great.
Can't bet against him now. He's made it this far. We got to go all in on Ty Dillon, the Cinderella story.
And just in case anyone was wondering, last season, Ty Dillon did finish ahead of Ty Gibbs at this race.
He did.
And he's plus odds right now. That was one of the bets I was about to just bring up because I always close out the show with a few bets I like. Ty Dillon's plus 195 right now. So pretty good money to be made there if you're wanting to ride the hot hand. Obviously, Ty Gibbs is, but we're going to ignore Gibbs right now. And then for the race winner, you brought up Ryan Blaney. He's plus 750. I think that's good. And I brought up Joey Logano, plus 2,000. So I think those are some pretty good bets. But, Nick, I want to thank you for joining. I think it was a really fun show. It worked out where we had a lot to unpack. I mean, regardless, summer's always busy for NASCAR. But I want to give you the opportunity to share where people can find your work, your handles, anything like that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's always fun to talk racing. And if you want to hear more about what I think about everything, go to motorsport.com. We got a lot of Formula One content, but don't let that scare you away. If you're not an F1 fan, we do have a NASCAR page. I cover all the NASCAR. And you can follow me on Twitter or X at NDGroot89. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us here. Tune back in next week. The week off I had last week was great, but we'll break down Indy. And once again, I just hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the NASCAR weekend. It should be fun. You all have a great one.